Capitalism is the cause of climate change, Part 1. I am sure you all have been bombarded by the news about the extreme heat across the globe, and likely feeling it too. Droughts and excessive heat in California, Texas, the Midwest, extreme heat in Europe, China and Japan with power grids struggling to cope, people dying from the heat. On and on and on, and of course, interwoven into these news reports are the usual, global warming, and climate change, that simple little tagline most of you can easily remember as you go on about your day in your cubicle or the cool shopping mall, drinking your lovely chilly frappuccinos carrying a bunch of crap in a nice fancy paper bag that's just going to wind up in a dumpster someday. And most of you don't really care. Sure, you might dwell on climate change for a few seconds, some of you may go watch a Veritasium video about it. Very few of you might actually read through the IPCC assessments. The reports are very stale, technical and hard to read, so the general public won't read them. If you are technically and scientifically literate, it is a horror story, and you should have the courage to translate it for the layman so they get the current reality. And of course, when you go watch some YouTube videos about climate change, you are going to get some recommended videos like How We Save the World from Climate Change, or How We Fix Climate Change, or Carbon Capture Future by Bill Gates, to help you believe in the myth that there is hope, that somehow, science will figure it out. And you'll go about your day asleep nicely at night feeling relieved that some group of smart people will eventually find a solution. Now, this series of videos entitled, Capitalism is the Cause of Climate Change, is not here to appease those childish, uneducated people who think climate change is a hoax, and the title is not clickbait either. Humans, we are changing the environment. That's just what any organism is going to do when it lives in any environment. All animals, including humans, alter the biosphere. And as promised, I will get to the real cause of climate change. 100,000 years ago our ancestors took rocks, knocked them together leaving shards and flakes of flint everywhere, litter which can be excavated to this day, so they could affix a spear tip or arrowhead to a stick and go kill an animal to eat it to live, thus destroying parts of the environment. Humans have been dumping CO2 and crap into the air ever since we figured out this magical thing called fire. Irrigation has impacted the environment for thousands of years. Do you think the Great Pyramids were environmentally friendly? How about all the roads that lead to Rome, and their lead-lined fail? How about the deforestation of the North American continent when the settlers came? How about all that coal burning in Britain that altered the population of moths due to the charcoal smut deposited on the trees? How about when humans scraped out a bunch of dirt on the Isthmus of Panama and linked two oceans together? How about when we started dumping hydrocarbons into the atmosphere en masse when Rockefeller made it happen? How about when humans created the Dust Bowl with rudimentary farming techniques? And then started spraying petrochemicals to feed an exploding population? And how about all those wars fought along the way? And how about the hundreds of atomic bombs humanity blew off in atmospheric testing? And just you being alive alters the biosphere, and there is nothing wrong with that. But there is wrong in much of the above. It is undeniable that the CO2, NOx and all the soup of aerosols we are all dumping into the atmosphere are changing it. There is no denying all the crap we are spraying over the surface of the planet is seeping into everything. There is no denying that we are dumping crap into the ocean either. There is no denying that we are clearing out native species to harvest and plant monocrops and make room for more expansion. Humans are altering the chemistry and physics of our environment, altering all sorts of cycles and processes, setting off feedback loops, all of which cannot be denied, and we collectively look the other way with these, "it's not my problem," and "someone else will fix it," and "what can I do" attitudes. And a lot of us pessimists who are already ahead of the curve know that there is nothing we really can do about it even if there was a technical solution. We are all FCKED anyways, so just enjoy life responsibly and educate others, hoping that by telling others what the true problem is, that by some slim chance we can pull human civilization out of this self-driven nosedive. The real cause of climate change, as stated before, on the scientific level, it is all the dumping, spreading and spraying of combustion and fossil fuel derivatives and byproducts that are screwing up Earth's biosphere and natural processes in concert with resource extraction. You can spend years learning in depth about the physics and chemistry of how all this is happening, but that is beyond the scope. Climate change, it's all because of the pollution, reduction of sea ice, alteration of the sea's salinity, CO2 concentration, methane concentration, clear cutting. Those are the culprits that are causing climate change. That's what the shallow news outlets and talk shows blame. That is the tagline most of you carry around and spout out when talking about this with friends. But like so much else in media and the news, the culprit is kept artificially shallow so you don't think too deeply to understand the truth, and see the true culprit, what's truly behind climate change. So I am going to tell you the root causes. The root causes of climate change are our consumerist culture and our economic systems. Blunt and to the point, it is our culture, more specifically, our modern consumerist culture combined with our current economic systems that are the root causes of climate change. And anyone who tries to tell you otherwise is naive, insecure, or has a vested interest in protecting those systems because it enriches them and gives them power. Humanity has been evolving ever since the beginning, and unfortunately, humanity has evolved its societal, governing and economic systems into mostly hierarchical consumer capitalism that works in tandem with capitalist-driven governance. And as many of you know, money, that vile fabrication, is that agent which controls everyone and everything. This is the corner we've evolved our species into. It is a consumerist capitalist culture, a culture built upon competition and insecurity, which drives people to slander, backstab, run over and step on socially, economic and politically. It is a consumerist culture that evokes people to go out and buy a bunch of crap to make themselves feel better, feel smarter, or feel superior than their fellow human being. Consumerism preys on natural human desires and securities in order to fuel capitalism. And capitalism creates artificial problems that only capitalism can solve. This modern consumerist culture and our modern economic systems are two sides of the same coin. They need and feed each other. Capitalism needs consumerist culture in order to sustain itself. Without spending, capitalism collapses. Without growth, capitalism collapses. Without people feeling insecure and wanting things, capitalism collapses. Without endless fake problems that need to be solved with fake solutions, capitalism collapses, and so does the governments they work hand in hand with. Capitalism keeps making up crap just to keep going, and most of you go along with it, being both willful and reluctant slaves. You fear the pressure to conform, and you fear the possibility of experiencing discomfort. They are a bitch, aren't they? Because capitalism's goal is maximum profit at all costs, you are going to have byproducts called externalities in economic lingo. And because the majority of the world currently runs under capitalism, companies, big and small, and even you, the slave, are going to run on the cheapest and most energy-dense sources of fuel that can be found, and those sources are oil, coal and natural gas. And oil is that source from which diesel, gasoline and kerosene come from, which power civilization, which pollute our earth, because it is our consumerist culture and capitalism that demand it. For so long, no one really cared about dumping into the oceans and the atmosphere because everyone was making bank. But there was some honest, we did not know any better thrown in. Eventually, the useless eaters started getting tired of eating fish filled with mercury, breathing in air they could see and chew on, seeing their kids suffer deformities and their elderly suffer from all sorts of conditions derived from work and the environment, so they started complaining. So your owners started putting catalytic converters on cars, making emission standards and creating the APR to shut up the working class and keeping them obedient working slaves. And over the decades, as more of the useless eaters became more earth-conscious, your owners, to keep capitalism and consumer culture going, greenwashed a facade over everything so you'd still be a loyal, but enslaved follower of the consumer capitalist system. They invented these fake buzzwords and phrases like this fake, earth-friendly, and sustainability, and sustainable development, with all these soft bright graphics and upbeat songs and crap so that you could alleviate your consciousness of the burden you are contributing to climate change, and that you can believe them when they say, "We everything under control." Which they do and they don't. They invented this sustainability crap to keep you in your place, to appease you and most of all, to profit off your ignorance and gullibility. Your owners convened meetings like the Kyoto Accords, a dog and pony show, so that the public would see that those in charge are doing something. And nothing really was done. They were all just non-binding agreements. Those expired and then came along the Paris agreements, lol. Once you peel away the corporate greenwashed veneer they've smeared all over the earth and do the hard technical research, you'll know that we are FCKED. The CO2 we've already dumped into the atmosphere is going to be in the atmosphere for hundreds of years, even if we stopped emissions today. We have already passed the real 1.5C threshold. Is the only reason why we are not is because they moved the pre-industrial baseline to 1850, 1900 instead of where it truly should be, the 1600s and 1700s, before humanity started burning coal to power steam engines at scale. The graph shows emission scenarios over time given different emission models. This is an older graph but still relevant. Do you think capitalism is going to let RCP 2.6, RCP 4.5 or even RCP 6 happen when it requires endless consumption and growth based on cheap fossil fuels?